Genesis here from the village. The village had asked that we delay the rate increase until they had a chance to look at more of the costs and the methodology to come up with the rate. But John and I had talked about that, and we think the city needs to keep moving on ours, and we can still work with the village, and they can, if they need more information from John, they can, we can share more information with them, and we can true up the village numbers later. But it would be important for us to keep moving forward and, you know, get a good solid 3 months worth in at the end of this year at this new rate, and that'll help us project for the next year's budget and stuff too. So we don't think it's of any value for us to put off. I mean, we should have probably raised these rates earlier this year, but we can work with the village to help them understand the numbers and where they come from.
As Kathy says, Mr. Mayor, did we want to invite Dennis up?
Sure. Casey.
Any comment?
As this night's been going, I feel pretty safe back here. I guess I was just, thank you, Kathy. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Oh, okay.
That was perfect. I guess, yeah, we just received this information. You know, Kathy forwarded it to us, I think on Friday she sent it to us. We just got it on Monday. So we just got it to our engineer on Monday, and he just asked if he'd have some time, but if we could, you know, whatever, you know, we understand things are have to go up. There's no problems with that. But yeah, there's just some questions that we have, and if our engineering, as Davey Engineering, if they want to work, you know, with your engineer to find out what's going on, or, you know, with any questions, I guess however you'd like to handle that, we'd be.
Mr. Mayor, we went through that same analysis on the water plant, if you recall, earlier this year, and I don't see that as being an issue that we'll get into much argument about. My comment to Kathy about the delaying of the rates is that we're already running behind with the village. As you saw, they were about $3,000 short, and we hadn't built them enough last year. I think what we're talking about is an increase here will certainly not get to the point where it will eat up all of the $3,000, and it will certainly, $3,000 gives us enough time to work through that analysis with their engineers, so we have to make an adjustment there. So I would not, it's not my place to say, but it doesn't seem to me that there is a need to delay the rate increase.
We're going to have to issue a bond for the upgrade of the wastewater treatment plant. Is that considered in this rate? That's
correct, Mr. Robertson. We had anticipated that we would go back to PFA again and try to get a low interest loan, and I think we're eligible for that. We're on the list. We had used a rate in here that was a little bit higher, almost twice as much as you paid for the rate for the bond you got this year. So I think we will continue to look at that and continue to look at the bond rate, and if our numbers start to get too divergent from reality, we'll come back to you and talk about that.
But the rates you're proposing will cover the loan payments on PFA.
Correct.
PFA.
Right.
The base rate and wastewater charge per 1,000 gallon comparison that you have on the sheet, is there, why does Rusghford stand out?
It stands out because you're lower than everybody else except the city of Caledonia.
It stands out because I'm looking at the difference in the billing practices, or the way that the wastewater fee is calculated. Is there any particular advantage one way or another?
What I would tell you, Mr. Mayor, is that most communities have stayed up with the inflation, so they continue to increase the rates, while Rusghford historically has not. I don't see that there's any difference in the billing practices or in the base rates. That everybody has a little bit of slant on that, but it's not significantly different. What I would say to you is that we have been nursing for since the last upgrade in the 80s with a plant that's aged, and we've been doing a good job of keeping it running rather than spending money to upgrade it. We've got to the point where we're at the end of that rope. We can't keep it running anymore without a significant expenditure. A significant expenditure means, as Ted said, we have bond payments, and that's why our bonds, that's why our rates are so much less than anybody else's. They've all gone through the process that we're embarking upon in the next 2 years. That makes sense?
Yes, it does. It doesn't necessarily answer my question. Is there a particular advantage that the other communities are using in their method of calculating their final charge to their customers based on usage rather than a flat base rate?
I don't believe there is any difference, significant difference between the other communities and the city of Rushford.
Let me try one more time. Is there an advantage to charging wastewater treatment fees based on water consumption rather than on just a base rate, a single base rate?
The answer to that is no. Let me try to treat it to you this way, and I don't mean to sound like I'm making it too simple. But when we build a wastewater treatment plant, we being any city in the state, there are capital expenditures that are required to do that, and bond payments. And the value of that plant and the capacity of that plant is there no matter how much an individual house uses it. That house could sell this fall, and you could have a different family coming in, and that family might use more wastewater, which would use up more of the capacity of the plant. So the plant has an expense to the city, and it has a capacity available. That's typically why a city goes with the base rate rather than just a charge per gallon. It's the same with a water system where you build a water tower and a water treatment plant. The capacity is there, and it's in the value of the person's house that they have that available to them. That's why most communities go with the base rate rather than just charging you per gallon used.
Although most of the communities all of the communities listed here except for Rushford are charging a usage fee on top of a base fee.
Okay, if you look at the first column, the one that says base rate, that's the availability or the capacity fee that I'm talking about. If you're in the city of Rushford and you exceed, 44,000 gallons monitored, an REU?
44,416.
Yes.
That's an average residential.
Right. Then you could be charged for a higher use.
Or commercial.
For commercial. Are you coming back to the thought that we want to start doing that for residential usage?
Not
That would be-
necessarily. I'm asking if there is an advantage of why these other communities are
doing
billing that way, and where we stand out as being as the only one that doesn't.
Yeah. And I'm sorry I didn't catch the subtlety of your question. We could do that. The advantage is, the way that Rushford does it, it's simpler. It's a lot easier to send off a bill for a base charge than it is to read meters and calculate that all out.
You also have a consistent amount of revenue coming
Right.
in, and you know what that revenue is going to be. There's not fluctuation, because you're residential. You know exactly what you're going to get from that many residences.
Right, but you're gonna get that base fee anyway, and then you may get more.
Well, what happened after the flood was our rate that we talked about here, the $416, was actually on the order of 53,000 rather than 44. So if we'd been doing it on the basis of water sold, our income would have gone down. You know, and our fixed costs are fixed. We've got basically electricity is the only one that varies. We would have to add about the same amount of chemicals. Our power cost, it's got to run 24/7. It wouldn't change that much. So really, this is a kind of a conservative way of doing it that protects the city's interests, so long as you keep up with inflation.